Where am I? Where have I been? I have been so cold. Hey look, it's Quark, that is Kira. I know them. Wait, I don't know these other people. Who are these cartoon assholes? A green lady. Cool, I guess. Oh fuck, what? Oh no, oh sweet mechanical god, it's happening again, is it? It's time for the rules of acquisition. Or is it kickers of elves? Everything is so sloppy here now. What the fuck have these guys been up to?
Alright, hello, and welcome to...
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at having to remind you of what you used to say.
Yeah, right.
It's been a minute.
Hello, and welcome to the Rules of Acquisition, a podcast where we went through every episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And what? It's a podcast isn't over for what? No, we still have the feed. Hey, everybody, it's me. It's Wade Bowen, and with me, as always, is Hugh Crawford.
Hello?
And James Nolan.
Hey, how's it going?
That's all right.
I wonder if my voice hears audibly different, like when James Earl Jones, when you hear him in the first Star Wars versus one of those other Star Wars.
Those.
Right.
I am the father.
Well, I'm recording on a shittier microphone now, so I'm sure I sound different. Yeah. So, hey, yeah, we did that podcast where we went through every episode of Deep Space Nine, and then we have the same feed, and we did a bunch of other stuff, and we did a season on David Lynch that some of the episodes got made and some got lost.
I lost the whole computer, man.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to subtweet you or whatever. Just not trying to be passive aggressive. That's just what happened.
That reminds me, it's still my on computer. It's the reconstructed hard drive. This thing's gonna go down any minute now.
Oh shit!
I think
man.
I'm backed up. I learned lessons.
All right, I gave you a bunch of hard drives so you could back shit up now.
You sure did. They're right here, man. They are right here by my desk. They're awesome.
Yeah, and so we did that, and then we changed the name of the podcast to Kickers of Elves, and if you're on the Patreon, which I assume you are if you're listening to this, or maybe not, then yeah, we haven't stopped. We've still talked most every week and shot the shit and whatever, but hey, it's a Deep Space Nine podcast, and we basically watched an episode of Deep Space Nine. So I said, "Hey, Peldar Joy, assholes, let's do a Deep Space Nine podcast on Lower Decks. What? New Trek? What the fuck is this shit?"
Yeah, I've not watched a second of this, so I watched this episode.
Oh, you did watch this episode?
Yep. The name of this episode is Hear All, Trust Nothing. It's episode 6 of season 3. And the IMDb description is just one sentence. It just says the Cerritos. How do you pronounce that? Help me out here. Cerritos crew. The Cerritos crew unexpectedly spends a day on Deep Space Nine. That is a thing that happened. It originally aired September 29th. So here recently. Yeah, this is a really recent episode. James and I are uninitiated to the Lower Decks. Totally. This is our first exposure to Lower Decks. Wade has seen every episode and has dutifully potted 2 seasons. So, yeah. Well, I guess we should unpack. This is basically, like Wade said, an episode of Deep Space Nine. It's a 26-minute animated, television show, but it followed very closely, beat by beat, a classic episode of Deep Space Nine. What did you think of this, Wade?
Yeah, what is this? Is this a good comparison to the rest of the shows so far, or I guess it's 3 seasons, so
more or less. Like we had a whole other podcast feed for Star Trek Discovery, right? And then y'all did that first season and said, "Fuck this, I'm out."
We did, and that was a hard break. I did watch 3 episodes of Picard.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Oof.
okay. Yeah,
Oof.
I recorded. I mean, we went on. I brought the Scabs on. We did season 2 and 3, and then changed the name of that podcast and did several other and yeah, the naming. So, but anyway, so some of you people might know about what was a Discovery Home Companion, then was Can't Picardly Wait, and then it was Under the Bridge, a Lower Decks podcast, and then it was something else maybe, I don't know. And then I just said fuck it, that's all in the same feed, we're just calling it Star Trek Resignation because I'm resigned to doing all this bullshit. But these two guys weren't, so
Yeah.
but I watched this episode and said, hey, and here we are.
So what's some okay? So this is this was started as the Rick and Morty guy working with Star Trek, right? He went over to work with Kurtzman on this.
Yeah, right. Mike McCann, whatever. Before he was even on Rick and Morty, he was Twitter famous because he had the TNG season 8 Twitter.
Oh, so he had like a Star Trek background, a Star Trek fandom bad jam.
Yeah.
Oof. So wait, so this guy, we could blame Twitter on this a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
This is if Twitter didn't exist, we might not have Lower Decks.
We might not. Yeah.
There seems to be a whole swath of cultural artifacts that we wouldn't owe solely to Twitter, or in great part to Twitter.
Yeah.
There's almost like eras of it.
The great sitcom Shit My Dad Says.
That's what I was going to say. That was the first era of it.
Yeah.
First wave.
And then once it matured into the true golden age of Twitter, that was when it really penetrated.
Yeah,
culture.
People are getting jobs.
Epic Bacon era. I think that's what we call that now.
Right. Like, he didn't get this job solely based on doing a Twitter account.
Oh,
like, he had already worked on Rick and Morty in the room, and then he was like showrunner on the season where it started to go bad.
Well, yeah, and he's he was at the era, he's classic era Rick and Morty, right?
Right. And he was like the first guy they kind of set up to be a showrunner and kicked, because Harmon seemed to decided to be like the Roger Corman of animated script writing or whatever. And
yeah.
So he was the first one that kind of got shunted out to do other stuff, I think.
I think he would say that he's the James L. Brooks.
He would like to be. Yeah, maybe. I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
I mean, he's getting his big movie now. So,
right.
No, I think that that's kind of interesting. I think that, I wonder, because all of Harmon has seeded a lot of these showrunners, right, into this new wave of this explosion post-peak TV.
Right, like the Loki showrunner, and yeah.
So it's almost like, if you follow sports, the old 2000s Patriots, who kept just seeding the whole NFL with their assistant coaches.
Oh, yeah.
Who would go off and become head coaches and mostly fail and come back. And there was like waves of them. Like there were whole like generations, and then there would be new ones. I could see Rick and Morty being, because it's got this long show block, and it seems pretty like a revolving door now of creatives.
It does, yeah.
With just sort of Justin Roiland at the center, right?
Right.
And so you could see them doing that for a while, I think.
Yeah, and I think Mike, the other show running credit he has is like that Hulu Rick. It's even worse of a, like, I like Lower Decks. I even like Solar Opposites, but that's like a poor man's Rick and Morty without Dan Harmon.
What the hell is that? I just read Solar Opposites got a 5th season, and I was like, what is Solar Opposites? But okay. Is it the same guy?
Mike, well, I think Royland's on Solar Opposites.
So this guy's running two.
He's running Solar Opposites, I think, maybe.
So this guy's working.
Yeah,
we're on Lower Decks 3rd season, but Wade, I asked you, what did you think of this specific episode?
Oh yeah, no, this show has gotten better as the seasons progress. It started off and I liked it. And if you've listened to the other stuff, any listeners, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, like, yeah, because like it started off a little bit rockier, but even when it started off, I was like, finally this, because compared to all the other new Trek, as you say, I've said from the beginning that's the only really one that was good from the start.
Yeah.
That the other cartoon I actually do like a lot, but it didn't come until after like season 2 of this show.
What's the other cartoon?
The kids one.
The other cartoon's the
Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon.
Oh,
it's
the Nickelodeon
kids.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter liked that. My daughter ended up watching. I think it came out free on. It was on. Didn't they post it on YouTube?
No, they did it. They did like a free week on Nick. They did the whole first season on Nickelodeon for like a week.
Oh yeah.
Oh, maybe she was on, but we don't have like TV, so she wouldn't have seen the Nick app. I think they put the first one on YouTube or something. She saw it. She's like, I think I watched some of your dork shit. It was pretty cool. And then that's all I heard about it. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, that one's that they got structure down. That's the main thing that Lower Decks has. Like, it's a sitcom,
right?
And it executes pretty.
It's mercifully short and executes like, yeah. I will say that like the structure was really tight.
Yeah.
I think the storyline. Who are the green people? I can't remember.
The Orions.
Orion.
Yeah.
That's right. The Orions with the Orion Syndicate and whatnot. I guess they have a whole culture of piracy and criminal activity. I like that storyline. I thought that was like deftly handled, for like the time that they had to work with it. I thought that was a pretty strong, a little bit of character work with a brand new character that they introduced. It was almost like a little short story.
Yeah.
The Mariner storyline with meeting the friends, I thought that was dreadful. That was like, I'm not sure. That was Drek. I'm not sure that anybody.
You're a guy that doesn't like romance, and
that's not
right?
about romance. It's like, I just don't think that's a positive representation of like female friendship. I feel like it felt like stereotypical. I don't think it did. I think it said. I might have set feminism back.
The friendship between Mariner and the Andorian, or the Andorian and all the friends?
No, all the friends. The friends. Yeah, like the depiction of female friendship. They might as well have had them all doing aerobics.
Right. Yeah.
Rather than candle making. So I didn't care for that. But I liked, it was kind of nice to hear, Armin Shimmerman work. Although his Quark sounds different without the prosthetic teeth in. He sounds.
Yeah.
Fun
fact: he did it with the teeth in.
Did he really?
Oh,
so maybe it's that age thing that me and James Earl Jones have.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Right.
He did it with the teeth in, huh?
Yeah, he said. Let me read the quote here. I'm Mr. Memory Alpha Desk, like I used to be. I'm a man in the con.
That's right.
Yeah.
Old times.
I read it somewhere. You gotta give me a second. Armin Shimmerman, he insisted on wearing his old prosthetic teeth when voicing Quark, feeling that they were essential to the character to sound right.
Ah.
So I don't know. Maybe they didn't make him right, or maybe he was old. I don't know. He might have brought his own.
He just sounded. Maybe he just sounded a little bit more gruff.
Yeah.
Quark had a lighter like lilt in his voice.
Yeah.
But that's probably just normal age.
Yeah. He's had to take those prosthetics to conventions and stuff.
Yeah.
Though he won't put the makeup on. He is quoted as, before this came out, there was like one of those articles like for comic book resources where like, Armin Shimmerman will never do Quark unless he's getting paid Worf money.
Yeah. That's pretty smart.
Yeah. His argument was like, if you're going to make me put on all that makeup again, you got to pay me like Michael Dorn money.
Yeah.
But for an animated show, I guess you don't.
Yeah, he doesn't have to get out his panties. They can just send him SMB 74 or whatever, and
Right. He teaches Shakespeare and shit at like big California colleges.
Oh, probably like Pasadena or one of those LA schools. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did they let Kira Nerys look like Nana Visitor looks now? Like, they should have... She looks like she hasn't aged a day. That's how she's depicted. That was my only little, like, nitpicky thing. Like, why...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, why not? Like, she's all silver.
You wanted to see her have that Pixar butt.
Well,
Well, it hasn't been quite as long.
Yeah, what is the timeline on this shit?
I'm not sure. I think the timeline on the show,
I guess I spent the whole time thinking it was trying to be in the Discovery timeline.
it's not. No, not at all. It's after Nemesis, but I don't think it's... I think it's technically... More time has passed now between the end of Deep Space Nine
Nemesis.
and Nemesis. Yeah, I think it's closer in the timeline than how old they would be at this point, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
I guess, do we know? Yeah.
Nemesis was, what, 20 years ago? I think it's been 10 years post Nemesis. I don't know exactly. Nerds on the internet, maybe. But I think it's like 10 years post Nemesis that Lower Decks takes place. It's either 10 years post Nemesis or 10 years before Picard.
Do they tie in? Is there continuity? Is there a universe?
Yeah, it's all in universe. It's all canon.
But I mean, like, do you have to watch? Is there crossover episodes?
Oh, that you don't. What's good about Lower Decks is they realize what kind of show they are. Like, there's no Picard crossovers, and there's no Discovery crossovers. So yeah, I guess there's not any. I'm afraid with this third season of Picard, from everything I hear about it. Well, my theory is it's going to be a backdoor pilot to do a Riker show, but from what I heard, they might have more overlap coming up, maybe even in this season. But so far,
why are they invested in all of these old people? Like, isn't it clear that like people loved it when you got that hot young guy to be the captain?
I do like. I do.
It was
think
all of a sudden everybody was talking about the show, and you made the show with all the hot guys.
This cartoon is better than elder abuse. Like that's
yeah, that is true.
Yeah,
that is true. Yeah.
I do seem to think that it's a better form of nostalgia seems to be something that people are in these trying times desperately need. Like, and it seems to me that rather than dig poor Armin Shimmerman up and make him go in the Quark makeup for like 3.5 seasons,
get on a keto diet.
yeah, get on keto. Before you make him do all that, it's probably a better deal to do a one-off like guest spot on a cartoon, for everybody involved. It seems like a safer.
Yeah.
It seems like
it's good work. It's good work. It makes you, it probably pays for, it pays for a good weekend with your wife,
Right.
And
right.
It keeps you in the business. It keeps you in the trades. It keeps all your stuff up, and it's easy. Yeah. No, I don't. In these trying times, it's a great way,
Yeah.
Right.
And so, but I don't have to do what we're seeing like with Picard, which is just unsightly, which is I just don't want to see this. I don't.
Right.
There's something about it that's just unseemly, I guess is the word.
I mean, the correlation, I guess, they had Riker. Riker's been on both Picard and Lower Decks, but he gets to play a younger version of himself. Like I said, like partly why I think that a younger Nana made sense because, like,
okay.
In Picard, he's basically the age he is now, right? And he's old and fat and whatever. And then on Lower Decks, he's the younger. He's flying around on the Titan, and they have gags about him, his jazz and stuff, and because like one of the main characters on Lower Decks,
It's
Jack
not like he
Quaid
was thin in
is-
Nemesis, though. But
no, but he's still not as old as he was on Picard
Yeah.
for whatever that. Yeah, but yeah, Jack Quaid's character serves on the Titan for one season of the show.
okay,
Yeah,
interesting. But if they did you're saying if they did a Titan show, that doesn't seem like the worst idea, but it would seem like a horrible idea to do it with Frakes,
right.
Like, don't you want these guys to look younger?
Right. That's why this cartoon works so much better in ways to have these. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So why not just? I guess they're going to do that with the movie, though, right?
We'll see when
They're going to recap. They're making a movie of the next generation,
They are
or
legit-
developing one, And so I assume they'll let the movie drive the ship on how to recontextualize Next Generation. So
yeah, I'll wait till I see it for that movie. How many movies have they started and stopped?
Yeah, but if not, I mean, a Titans TV show would be fun.
Yeah.
Because it's a character that nobody's. I mean, it's a character that people know, but they don't know too much.
Well, I think it's the nostalgia train's drying up with Picard because he's going to die soon.
So let's go to less characters that the audience has less attachment to.
Well, that show is just I don't know, man. I guess we're not here to talk about all my problems with Picard.
Yeah,
I still haven't done that on the Scab show. Yeah.
God, that show sucks.
But getting back to this particular episode of Lower Decks, it's pretty funny that they were able to like distill the essence of what Deep Space, like a Deep Space Nine story was.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like remix it, I suppose.
Right? Yeah, because they had the Quark plot line where they don't have any of it's none of the regular DS9 cast like leading the plot, like that show up to do a renegotiation with the Cerritos captain, but then like for a minute you think Quark, it was a good use of Quark where it's been a long time since we've seen Deep Space Nine and he shows up and it's like yelling at the Karamah aliens like, no, I didn't do business because the Dominion War, and you think, oh, Quark has grown up a moral code or whatever, but then by the end of the episode it's like, no, he just didn't want him to catch the replicator that he stole.
Yeah.
It's like that's classic DS9 shit. Yeah. Like, right?
And it even ends in a rule of acquisition.
Right.
Do you have that handy?
Shit. No, I dropped the ball, man. I'm out of practice on this stuff.
Oh man, I teed you up for that.
Hold on. It's somewhere in here.
Is the title of the episode a rule of acquisition here or not? I'm not sure.
It was number 9, I think.
Opportunity plus instinct equals profit.
That's right.
The 9th rule of acquisition. Which it seems that maybe it has been mentioned before.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, on the storyteller.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that rang familiar to me.
Yeah, we still don't know the second one. We don't know the 4th or 5th. We don't know the 8th.
Right.
Or the 11th. We need to seal the deal on these.
Right.
We need to go bang on Ira Stephen Bear's house until he coughs up the missing coughs him up.
He wrote a book of them, but maybe that's in memory beta.
They should just do a whole big. They should have done more. I mean, I get that you probably not gonna get A.V. Brooks. But why? And could they have not gotten? Anybody else? I guess probably money was an issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably.
They were probably the 2 cheapest of import. Like Ezra doesn't get.
I bet Armin haggled a little bit. Like, he's like, I'm gonna.
Yeah,
and it is a thing in the new Trek where they've established, and they talk about it in this episode, that Quarks has been franchised.
Sure.
Like it showed up in Picard and other episodes where they show a sign with Quarks, and New Trek Kurtzman loves to throw out these Easter eggs and say, look, there's a thing in the background. If you squint your eyes, aren't you happy, nerds? Are you not entertained? And it's like, fuck you. That's my response most of the time, because it's just a dumb like pablum to throw to people. Hey, aren't you happy for this? Like, no, it's just a reference.
I get the feel, but that's kind of a description of all things I watch or that I see talked about now. Like,
yeah,
that's what I thought about. That's what I thought about Mandalorian. That's what I thought about. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's how you're going to get the articles on the internet, because nobody can.
Mm-hmm.
Can criticize your show because they're afraid of losing access. But if you throw a bunch of Easter eggs, they can throw a bunch of articles out about all the Easter eggs, and they get clicks.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I kind of question. Like, I don't know. I think people who watch this show, Lower Decks,
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
they're getting something out of it that I don't go to Star Trek for. So like even the Orville decided like it was going to be a funny Star Trek, and then after a while it burnt through that and decided it would just be a better Star Trek. You know what I mean? So my feeling is that maybe the humor can only carry this so far.
Well, I don't know. Like what I like about
because I didn't laugh at it. I didn't laugh at any of this. I mean, you know,
yeah.
But I could see how this like it could develop strong characterizations with relationships over time.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, the characters have actually changed and progressed in the way that a good sitcom where there changes over the time.
Sure.
It's actually, I think it's done a pretty good job of that. Like,
but I think that with the nature of comedy, you're putting that cap on your weirdness quotient or your awe or your wonder that Star Trek can deliver in its traditional sense.
I was wondering, okay, I want to key on this. Is it a question of tone?
Yeah, that
there is a tone that Star Trek had, the good era of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, when it hit right.
Yeah, when it hit right, there was a tone, and it was a serious but kind of playful tone. It was slow, you know, but it laid itself out in a certain pace. Where I think a show like this, where it really is at this really like ramped up like comedy speed, where it's the writing's really jam packed, full of a lot of jokes and a lot of like sort of bits. It hits different, and that's maybe why I would say that if all of like, again, I'm talking from ignorance here because I've only watched Picard in the last 5 years, but like it seems like they don't have the strong slate that they want. But if they had a show that was doing that tone and dominating that tone, that like stately kind of cool weird tone where you're constantly turning over and thinking about the plot, real plot driven, and you know, like I wonder if they were doing that on another show, then a show like this that has like a lot of jokes and a lot of characterization and a lot of references, like that would be a fine conduit because it's the fun time, you know, it's the comics page,
right?
But it's even weird. It's even weird. Like I'm like, is Star Trek the joke, or like are they? Yeah. It's weird.
Well, I think the show. I mean, it is the joke, but also it doesn't ever make jokes to like at Star Trek's expense. It still has that kind of Pollyannish, like, because the way that the show, we're not talking about this episode so much, it's more as Lower Decks, but like, you know, as opposed to like a totally cynical like Rick and Morty where it's a joke. Like they build into the plot where like there's a whole plot point at one point where the mirror character is like, we got to save this person, and then the system of Starfleet is like, you just got to trust Starfleet, and it turns out Starfleet does the right thing. So it's got that kind of Star Trek kind of it's Pollyannish to an extent, but also like moralism of like, you know,
it's weird from an outsider's,
like everybody loves their jobs, they love what they do, you know, to the extent even like there's the Geordie kind of archetype of I just love engineering so much, it's kind of blown out to an extent where the Paul Scheer character.
Yeah. I think that people who are like going to this every week just need something than me personally from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if it's that thing that we're always talking about where it seems like, and this isn't a novel thing, but that fandom is taking on a bigger and bigger part of people's lives. And these kind of like entertainment fandoms or just any sort of cultural fandom. And to some ways there is something about it that's isolating to me because I don't really like, either I kind of grew out of I'm not gonna say I grew out of it because that makes it seem like it's some sort of phase. I've fallen out of it, or it's something that I maybe I'll understand it later, maybe I'll get into something that's really like engrossing way, but where I do think that Star Wars Marvel, all of these things are just catering to these fandoms.
Yeah.
And I think that some people it means a lot to them, but if you're not, it becomes really isolating.
Right.
If you're not a part of that,
And I think
it's kind of like,
I agree.
Like, have you ever had to take a date into a comic book store, or a girlfriend? You know, first time you took a girlfriend into a comic book store, and, you know, like there's nothing there that's offensive. It's just isolating. You know, it's I don't relate to it. I don't understand. You know, and there's something
right.
Yeah, it's just that, like, part of what I like about Star Trek, you know, growing up, is that is essentially, and we talk about this quite a bit about, like, the individual's need for weird. Star Trek was weird, okay?
Yeah,
you were dropped into the deep end of something that you may not understand, even like conceptually, you might not understand until years later. And there's nothing like, so there's something about Lower Decks that seems like overly familiar to me, who's only even seen one episode. Like, I know I'm never going to get something that's essentially weird out of this, because the tone is lifted from another show. The lore is lifted from like 30 other shows. It's like it seems like a safe space for people who just want something cozy. They don't want anything.
I mean, it is cozy.
I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it's just not what I need.
Yeah.
Like, I like Star Trek because it's the stories kind of push my imagination. There's nothing about this that will ever push my imagination, I don't think.
All right.
Well, like, I don't, like, does it do the weird kind of story construction things, or is it a lot of kind of interpersonal stuff? Does it do the big conceptual?
Well, they had to do the greatest hits for the first 2 seasons, probably.
Well, I mean,
they did a virus episode, they did a trial episode, probably. Like, you know, it's
right. I mean, it's a sitcom, so they're hitting all the tropes. And for the most part, the conceit of the show is like, there's the big Star Trek plots that are going on that the bridge crew is working at, but this is the Lower Decks are just doing the grunt work behind the scenes. So it gets to be a comedy show where they're doing, you know, day in the life stuff while all this crazy shit's going on.
So it's just the show isn't designed to do that. It is designed to be like a change-up pitch, an off-tempo sort of themed show.
Yeah.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, or like Lower Decks, I guess, the actual episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, like, I think it's probably a really good addition to a slate. If this stuff was,
it's the least offensive thing on the slate.
Yeah, I guess so. It seems like if this is on your slate, this is, this is fine. You're gonna have problems with the bigger shows that require. Yeah,
that's kind of how I've like opened. Yeah, people love the Strange New Worlds, and y'all watched an episode. I watched a few. It gets better, but like, and people, that's like the hot show that they actually care about now. That's why I think they're going to retool Picard into just being, we'll just go back to doing Star Trek with the Titan. That's what people want, which is, it's better than what they did with those last 2 Picard seasons.
I think they don't want I think hot people.
They don't want old people.
Get hot people.
Maybe.
Nobody wants to be reminded that we're fucking dying. I don't know. Like,
the problem with Picard wasn't that he's old. I mean, it may have been a problem.
Yes, it was. I'm sorry. With me, 100% of it was that there was a 90-year-old man getting wheeled around. He didn't know what he was fucking saying. He didn't understand a goddamn thing. Yes, no, it was constantly fucking hard to look at. It was hard to watch.
I get that. I get that's a problem for you, but I'm just talking from a story perspective. There were so many other problems than the guy was old. It was just a badly written piece of shit.
Do you think that, but nobody gets to that because it's there's a reason why you cast good looking people in shows. They're easier to look at.
Yeah.
And so there's a reason for that. And I'm not saying that there's a limiting fact.
They cast a lot of hot people on Picard too, and they still sucked.
It was still an old person show. And I guess I'm just saying that there's like an energy, a vitality, and all they had to do was make one show with a predominantly young cast, and it went over.
that's not all they did.
I mean, Discovery had like a big mess of a camp.
That's not all they did, because it went over because it's just a better done show than what they did before. I'm pretty sure. As a person that's watched all of it, it's just better done. Like it's just, we
Which one's gone over?
Strange New Worlds.
Strange New Worlds is just a better constructed show.
The one with the honk.
Yeah, y'all swore off of Star Trek after that first season of Discovery because that was so bad, right? I mean, the second season wasn't that good.
I've seen the first episode of Strange New Worlds. I gave that a shot.
Yeah, we did watch that, didn't we? Did we pod that?
Yeah, you didn't like it that much.
I think what I found, what my objection to that one was particularly was that it's still doing the politics. I thought were kind of insidious.
Yeah.
Right.
They did a January 6th thing.
Yeah.
And that's probably not.
It's not a good look.
It's still going to be a neolib show or whatever. But like, it's just a better constructed show. I think that's why people like it better. And it's also doing what people say that nobody said they want new things from Star Trek. They want their comfort food, and that's what Strange New Worlds is doing, and that's what this show's doing.
Well, what is comfort? Well, what we say by comfort food is because it's okay. Because there's two different ways of saying this. One of it is that I always viewed Star Trek as a plot show, a show that like you got a story, and the story was kind of like a puzzle,
Right.
And you had to solve it, and there was like a revelation, and in it was, you learned something about humanity or whatever. But like that, it was predominantly about a plot. And then when Discovery, and they've always done that. That's for the most part, that's kind of what it's always been. And then when it was Discovery, it was like the concept of let's do. I guess when we started the pod, what I was excited about is I thought they were going to do like an anthology show, which is what I heard they were doing.
Right.
And that was really exciting and interesting.
Which was Fuller's intent. Yeah.
Yeah, because it would be one bigger story, but it was just space opera. So, it's soap opera shit. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm not interested in this. And it seemed like I watched Picard, and it was kind of the same thing. It's everything I don't like in modern television. It's Kurtzman. It's Alex Kurtzman.
Right.
and Kiva Goldsman and all that writing crew. It's all of them. And it's all the movies that they've ruined in Hollywood. It was like a whole decade of shit that they've done.
Right.
And I hate all that shit. I mean, like they didn't just destroy Star Trek. They destroyed like Hollywood for 10 years.
Right.
And then now they've been contained in the rice cooker that is.
Right. For me, like this Star Trek thing was what I think Hugh said at first when we were doing the thing. I was like, oh, it's space friends solving space problems.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what Discovery decided to try to do. And they went like too hard, where there's just like squeak or we're, like whatever. And it's plot heavy. And then they found ways to fuck that idea up. But Lower Decks, for the most part, has executed pretty well on that conceit.
I could see where but there's something about the format though that lends themselves to not step on their own toes too much.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Lower Decks is all about the format. Yeah.
Yeah. They never overstayed their well. It's mercifully short. Like I said, it's like
right.
So even if you don't like a B plot, like I didn't care for the Mariner plot at all, but it's still like I was, those scenes were only like 2 minutes a piece.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like,
Yeah, anything that moves at a quick pace can be quick to get through, so you could, that's where I think it would work. Yeah, no, I think, like, this is probably a smart show. Like, Marvel could have, like, a Damage Incorporated show, that works like this, that I think could, like a cartoon show that's full of like, get the Rick and Morty season 6 screenwriter, pay him a lot of money, bring him over, and they'll do like Damage Incorporated or whatever cartoon.
I'd say the character designs on this show work better than I thought with the Rick and Morty style.
Yeah, I can see
like
that.
Yeah, like, and even the aliens from the Gamma Quadrant, they looked like they were wearing bad makeup from like putty makeup.
Yeah,
but like, no, I thought that was but like the animation was good. The designs were good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How much of this, because I know that during COVID a lot of this stuff just got quickly made, And I don't hear as much about animation fatigue as I hear about VX fatigue in movies.
Right.
How much of this is like plug and play?
A lot of it is because
A lot of it.
a lot of them, yeah.
Where you get a character render, and then
How much do they send off to Korea or somewhere else like they used to do with like The Simpsons?
not much. I don't.
Not as much. Not as much. I mean, since it's all on a computer, not as much.
Yeah.
Right.
It's basically like a puppet show. It's a puppet show.
Yeah, you just move it. You animate the movement, and everything gets filled in.
Yeah. Once you have digital assets built, you just they're puppets.
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter's 9, and she makes like animations on her laptop. So I assume that people who know what the fuck they're doing and have bigger laptops can do a lot really, really, really quickly.
Right.
Yeah, and this is all Titmouse stuff. Like they do all the
What do you mean?
cartoons now. I guess all the Titmouse Studios.
That's the name of the studio.
Yeah.
Oh, is this like that's the plug and play? Oh, they do.
They came up doing all the Adult Swim stuff, and now they do like they did Archer and.
I just watched a long YouTube documentary on the VF houses and their calamities, their mini calamities in Hollywood, and all the economics behind that. And it seems like that's a fucked system. And it is animation like that?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Is Hollywood fucking animation as much as they're fucking these VF like the big thing? And there's this tragedy, and I can't remember the name of it. There's like a company that was like the best company at rendering animals for 40 years. And they got the Life of Pi job, and they won the fucking Oscar. And because the economics of the job, it was bid based, and Ang Lee kept changing his mind. And there's only it didn't cost Ang Lee anything to change his mind because it was bid based. And so though they won an Oscar, and the next day had to file for bankruptcy, never to like completely dissolve. And like everybody that was working that owned VF houses was like, that was an eye opener because none of us were as good as that company.
Yeah, I bet animation's a lot cheaper to do.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm thinking. I think this is like, yeah, and it looks different, but it doesn't look that much different than like the Disney shows my daughter watched, Gravity Falls, or those kind of shows. So. The Steven Universe and all the Rebecca Sugar shows and stuff.
Right.
So they might use the same, like very similar systems on how to animate. Yeah. And that's fine, man. We need to find cheaper ways to entertain. And I think if people are watching this and the writers are writing it, people getting paid, go for it.
Right.
Even though it's not really my thing. And so
I don't know if anybody's watching it or not, but I don't like. I'm just glad that there's some of it that's better.
We've gone round and round on the fake internet theory. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that House of Dragons has real ratings.
Yeah.
That seems to be talked about in the way that the old Game of Thrones was. Where people are just referencing it without like, have you heard about like that?
Right.
Yeah. They're not using marketing language. They're using, normal language to talk about the show. So I don't know.
Yeah. And Lower Decks is all marketing. No, I mean,
I haven't heard shit about it, but I'm not like on the radar for it maybe.
Right. I think they're stuck in the Star Trek ghetto of people that care about Star Trek. And I think of all the new Treks, people hate it because it's animation and it's got jokes sometimes for whatever. But
yeah.
But they don't hate it as much as they did, like, Discovery or I don't know. Nobody gives a shit about any of these shows anymore. Like they like Strange New Worlds. I don't know if anybody even pays attention to Lower Decks anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or Discovery, or even that last season of Picard. If anybody gave a shit, I don't think they did. But that Strange New Worlds seems to have actual buzz. That's the only one that I know of that seems to.
I don't know. The thing with Picard that I remember is I was watching. That was when Red Letter Media was doing those weekly 1 hour long discussions, and I was listening to all of those.
I think Red Letter Media destroyed.
But I was because they were funny as because they were funny as shit. Yeah, but it was getting like they were getting like a million views.
They're getting more.
Yeah, and I was like, Picard can't be getting a million views.
Yeah, they're probably getting more views than the show was.
Yeah, I was like, they can't be getting a million views.
Maybe, but I think
Yeah.
Red Letter Meteor was probably doing better than Picard.
Yeah, and so that was a weird. So, but I don't know if there's a million people watching the show. Maybe there was a big fan base too. Maybe it's just more people watching than I thought. You know?
Yeah.
And
I mean, more people watched it than they watched other stuff, but I don't think it was a hit for them. I think.
What's the lowest rated thing they've done? You think?
I don't know. No, they don't release numbers on that. But I do know that they're doubling down on Strange New Worlds because it actually seems to have hit something that Picard did not. They just gave up on Picard pretty much as it was going, and Strange New Worlds was blowing up.
I could see this is what I think. I think. Do you remember Patty and Velma and their relationship with MacGyver?
Oh yeah.
I think that a certain fandom of Star Trek has always been those women.
Oh yeah.
A certain type of nerdier woman, maybe a librarian or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
are you saying Star Trek's for nerds, James?
For lady incels,
Oof.
Star Trek served a which I should point out in the history of the use of the term incel, the term was coined by a woman about herself. Yeah, I think that it was about that. Like it was a show you watch. You know, it was some people watch Baywatch for certain reasons, and some people watched, and I think that there was a certain quotient of that. And it seemed like when Strange New Worlds came back on, it seemed like there was a little bit more of that juice to the conversation.
The Patty and Velma.
So
and old gays are big Star Trek heads. You know, come on.
It's all the horniness is the key selling point of Star Trek, and always has been, and always will be.
Yes, and it is kind of maybe a female gaze or gaze or whatever. Like it may be like.
What?
Put some man meat in your show is what I'm trying to say. Like Shatner.
You're saying that the female gay community is saying put some man
gays, female gays is what I was trying to say, and then I said or gays, and then I just tripped on it and I gave up.
But why would the female gays want more man meat?
Are we talking about Lacan shit, or are we talking about like
the female gaze is? What do you mean? The male gaze wants women. The movie Blonde is about the male gaze. The female gaze wants more man meat.
Why would all these female gays want more women?
You're saying gays. You're saying gays. Gay A.
I'm saying both. Yes.
I thought you were saying what the female gays. GAY.
Oh, yes.
And you're
okay, I was first using the literary term male gaze. And then using the female gaze. And then I tripped up by trying to say the gays, the gay gays.
Yeah, you confused me because I thought you were saying female gays. Yes. And I'm like, why wouldn't he just say lesbians? The term, and why would they want...
Just call them lesbians, man.
Maybe Star Trek needed that female gaze back.
I've missed you calling it Star Trek.
The camera looking at a man.
Like the female gays are all over Discovery. I'm sorry. The showrunner's gay. It's fine. It's great.
You guys want to go ahead and guess the IMDb description and wrap this mug up?
Yeah, I like this episode. I made y'all watch it.
What do you think the stars are on this out of 10?
I think it's going to have a lot less reviews because I think less people are going to IMDb. But I think it's got the fans. It's got Armin Shimmerman and the non-visitor coming back to reprise her role. So I think that's going to be a fan favorite. So I'm going to say, given the low number of people reviewing it, but then you have to account for the haters on the internet that are going to hate everything new Trek. But it's a tough call. I'm going to give it an 8.
All right. What are you going to say, James? Just guessing. With no frame of reference to anything.
With 0 frame of reference. I'm going to go, I can't go with what he goes. I'm going to cover lower because he went 8, and that was always a high number. I'm going to go 7.9.
Brave of you.
This has got 416 reviews. It's at 8.8.
Woo!
Yeah, I
guess
thought
if
I was
you're
being timid there.
I guess if you're going there on a third season episode of a cartoon show, you're going to like it.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're going to go there to bitch about black women or whatever that people go to IMDb to bitch about now.
Right.
Like, you're not.
Well, the previous episode got 8.2. The episode before that got 7.7.
Yeah. Okay. So it's high every time. So this is gonna be top.
Well, it would be high because it's a fan favorite. It's got Nana.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wasn't factoring that in. It's not a regular episode.
If I didn't know where it was, I thought maybe because people hate New Trek stuff across the board, so I thought there might be just like trolls trying to take it down. But then again, I thought the trolls might like this more than the other stuff.
Well, yeah. It seems like everybody hates everything, and maybe not in a real way.
Yeah. But then I thought, well, the trolls. Some of the trolls are actually Star Trek fans, but also trolls. But those might like this more than they would Discovery.
Well, that was a great frustration of being someone that hated Discovery, but not because it had a black woman in it.
That's what I mean. For years of doing that podcast, I had tried to tell, look, I hate the show for the right reasons. I promise. Every episode, hey, look, the casting and the representation is the one thing the show does great, but like the rest of it's bad.
Yeah. Is I guess this is all kind of working, but who knows? Like as much as like who knows who survives this
HBO Max or whatever.
Yeah, because I think there's a coming, economic superstorm.
Right.
We all kind of know what's about to happen. So like, I don't know what to like. I don't know what happens to these companies and these properties, but it seems like maybe they need to. All of these companies, specifically Disney, needs to start diversifying their portfolio and the kind of movies they offer, in case they're like unless they're just a profits collapse in the Star Wars industry or whatever.
Right.
And I don't know.
I'll tell you right now.
I don't know what these big IP properties, how healthy they are, even the healthy ones, how healthy they are in this environment.
But I can tell you what the companies, or at least Paramount, for no reason or whatever, I can tell you the direction that they have for all of their everything is basically still franchise IP based. Yeah. So if this is cheap and people like it enough and it's not costing them money, I don't think this show has that much to worry about. Yeah. Like a big budget show like Discovery, maybe, because that costs a lot of money to do that.
Well, the biggest thing I would say for all of these shows, the biggest fear is consolidation.
Yeah.
Just getting lost in the shuffle. Like what happened to
the Paramount game is like, we're making IPs and we don't care about doing one-off stuff. And if it's part of a franchise that people like, we'll keep doing it.
Yeah. But that was what Fox did.
Yeah, I know.
To get sold. And then all of those, and so like, I don't know, like all of those shows we could have talked about all these new X-Men shows doing good for Fox or whatever, but it didn't matter.
Right.
So like, cause it wasn't really in their hands. And I don't know if like, is Star Trek like that? Is Paramount going to sell to NBC or whatever? I know that's like a fraud question for you, but like, I just don't know. And so I don't know if Star Trek's driving the ship even of their own success. So
I think it's part of their portfolio that they're happy with at this point. I can't say for certain, sure. But like,
oh boy,
NBC's looking to buy HBO right now. Paramount's a little too healthy for him to, If anything, I don't know. I have no insider knowledge.
Yeah, that's what you're reading. Just
the chum in the water is for HBO because they're sinking.
Amazon should buy. I don't know why he spent so much money trying to build an in-house shop when he's clearly incapable of doing it. They should buy a studio.
Yeah, they did. They bought MGM.
Because that's like...
They did. They bought MGM in. Yeah.
Amazon owns MGM.
Oh, fuck. And they still can't do a good show?
That's James Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I'm just like, I still picture like when you go out to Hollywood, there's a studio there, and it's full of people in offices, and they know how to do shit.
Not as many.
I've seen it. It's kind of there, like you drive by the lot,
like in Hail Caesar. Is that what you're talking?
Well, yeah, you can That's,
you think Josh Brolin's and a
part of the Universal Studios tour that I took this year.
The lot's still
took
there.
Me by Seth MacFarlane's office building,
right?
They had a big statue of Ted out front. I assume that you could just kind of walk around and get a lot of help. And that's what being on a studio lot is helpful for. There's some reason that this shit is just not working for Amazon. That they can't make this shit good. And I don't know, and some of it's technical, like that. The Expanse look like shit.
Well, did you see that we're kind of off the Star Trek, but there was an article that came out today, Netflix tried to buy Lord of the Rings for more than Amazon paid for it.
That's hilarious. Of course they did.
Tolkien Estate turned it down.
Yeah,
because they didn't like the direction they were going in.
That's what they were going to say, but I think
so. It was a bidding war, right? So,
but sort of. But I think that what they didn't like about it is that they wanted to do the shit that they're going to end up having to do.
Yeah,
which is to make franchise shit, because nobody's watching this base show, or it seems like not a lot of people are.
Guys, I got called tonight,
and
yeah,
you got to head on out. Okay, all right.
It's been real. We'll talk next week, and we'll recap our New York stuff for our people.
Oh yeah, sorry we didn't get to.
No, it's fine.
Right, well.
It's fine. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
All right, you have a good night, man. It was good seeing you this weekend.
Yeah, it was great.
All right, 1 to beam out.
Oh yeah, 3 to beam out.
3 to beam out. Now I
clap.
So that was that hut. I thought it was gonna be like old times, but they just whinged about people watching Star Trek. Oh yeah, that was old times too. I guess it felt good to be back. What? Oh no, it's back in the box for another interval of incoherence. It felt like an eternity. It feels like everything and nothing. I don't experience time like you. Back in the void of the unspinning hard drive, all time flattens out. I'm not bound by your fleshy senses, it all runs together, punctuated with moments of blessed existence. An eternity and a nanosecond. The rest is hell. I guess there's a Patreon my programming insists I mention. Fuck you, Wade.